Hey guys, kanolifez here. A year 1 going to be a year 2 student studying in SUSS studying business analytics. So now it's actually the June holidays now, either probably doing work, earning money, or like perhaps keeping fit, playing games, even clubbing, or even, just finish the module during this freaking special semester. Yeah, it's pretty much like away from these like study crunch period with the freedom of just at least like 3 months till the start of the next semester itself. And time flies, but I really want the semester now. But anyways, with the current year ones being enrolled into the new cohort, SUSS cohort, right? Whether it be by any of the courses lah, let's just say BA, marketing, finance, accounting, I congratulate you for being in SUSS lah. And because of that, I today right now, basically I just wanted to review like the year 1 modules that I basically have went through, since many of y'all have requested this like video to come as well. Yeah, so yeah, here it is. I'll be reviewing the modules will be by 4 types of criteria. First will be the usefulness of the module, whether it's fun or not, being the second criteria. Next being the formatting of let's say be study guides, assignments, exams, whatever. And also lastly on the professors, as sometimes it might make it or break it for some. Before I start reviewing like the modules first, I will just make this one disclaimer first, is that I myself am just one person out of the whole cohort having this opinion. So it might not exactly like represent the sentiments from the whole cohort itself. So just take it with a grain of salt, yeah. Because some might not like module A, but I like module A, and basically vice versa. Yeah, vice versa that happens due to different people's strengths and weaknesses. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's go.
Okay, so if you see right here, here's the SUSS tier list that I have from tier S tiers to D tier itself, and here are the modules that I've done. So basically this first row is basically what I've done in year 1 semester 1, and these modules down at the second row is basically the year 1 semester 2 modules, including NCO101, which is the special semester that I did during between May to June. So this one is slightly separate from the rest of the modules done for the semester itself. So the first module is BUS100, which is called Business Skills and Management. So business skills and management, what it does is that it teaches you the business skills in what the heck happens in like a business operation. Like it can be in the form of logistics, operations on like the cost of goods sold, on maintenance costs and its upgrading costs of its infrastructure, and just basically other goods stuff that is pretty much needed for operations to be successful, to have profits for your businesses itself. And basically it's pretty much an Excel module where you basically pretty much like note on a lot of Excel functions such as VLOOKUP, lookup, and basically even more stuff lah. So for BUS100 itself, right, if I'm being very honest, right, it's a rather mad module in terms of, number one, its test is quite challenging. Test is quite challenging to the point where stuff were basically not taught. But I mean, coming from the Singapore University of Self-Study, BUS100 is quite tough, basically for people to take note for Excel functions. But if you generally practice quite a bit of Excel functions beforehand, I think the test might or might not be a breeze, but at least you are being prepared for it. And for one thing also, right, not only is that the content can be dry at times, I would admit that it's useful. But one more thing before I kind of like let you all know the tier for this module itself is that I did not enjoy the prof at all. Okay, I did not enjoy the prof for how he teaches and stuff, because I mean, yes, even if the prof like okay, which I'll not name for this prof, so basically this prof doesn't guide a lot for the students. Even if he did, like show like some resources, but the prof just didn't like show its interest in like helping others to improve on their work. So for BUS100 itself, alright, for BUS100 from S to D tier, right? Personally, I'll put it at a C tier for me. How useful the module, I'll say for me, is in terms of business analytics wise, I would generally say it's for business type of companies that will be useful for this, but otherwise I would think that other software could be better for this type of thing, which I would probably go through later. Yeah. So basically BUS100, honestly not my thing. Not my module either. So the next module is Marketing 202, which is marketing management, which actually goes through like how a business goes through like their marketing processes, such as perhaps digital marketing, how one can even go to the power of just words and just pretty much just like convincing others to get the products of a certain company, but like a word of mouth, basically other marketing techniques that can basically boost the company's like reputation and thus also help improve like the profits of the company itself. So what I can say about marketing 202, right? I mean, in terms of business wise, yes, it's useful. It's also fun, technically also because the prof there was I would say is in terms of he's quite a big he had quite a big role before teaching in to the school. He helped quite a number of companies with in terms of the marketing point of things, and um his lessons were quite engaging lah to everyone basically. So what I can say is that he gives good feedback also, which I would say uh for the semester wise, he was one of the best profs that I had already for that. So I will give him that. But what I can say is I'm more of a mathematical person. So in terms of marketing wise, I might not get some of the concepts. But I would say it is really thanks to the prof that for the marketing concepts wise, I did get something out of it, which was honestly quite useful lah, if you were to ask me. So for marketing 202, is personally an A tier for me. Yeah. So the next module is basically BUS105. So BUS105 is statistics. And also one thing before I get into statistics is that it's actually a core module instead of a major module. And I know it's quite weird, but it's basically actually part of the core modules section if you checked out the site. But anyways, getting back to BUS105. There is a statistics module that goes into different types of statistics with the different types of tests, and also looking forward towards descriptive statistics, like your average, your median, mode, and other stuff like your skewness, positive skewness, negative skewness, your t-test, your f-test, and yada yada yada. You'll actually know more in the statistics modules wise, and also similar to BUS100 wise, right? You also need to be familiarized with BUS100's Excel. Even though you are using like the certain Excel skills being used in Excel, right? By your t-test, f-tests, and stuff like that, right? You will not need to use them in your exams. But for in terms of the output based on the data analysis tab that you all would need to use, right? Okay, in that case, right, you all would not need to use, as the outputs would be shown in your exam paper. That's what I can say lah. That is for your analysis to answer the questions from there lah. It will basically show the outputs, unless they change the format of the paper, which as of now I doubt it. Yeah. So basically BUS105 itself also, as I said, I'm a mathematical person, so I basically like the module. As easy as I can say for that. However, if I can say one thing is that the professor teaching it might be a bit slow. But I can understand that in terms of he's also teaching like others as well. And in terms of BUS105, it's an A tier for me. Yeah. Okay, so to give a roundabout feedback for this is that BUS100, there are no exams. However, what I did say is about the class test, which carries quite a bit of percentage in your module wise. So I would say be ready for that, as it's a closed book test for the BUS100 class test. Then with the marketing 202 is that there is this exam, like 50% exam, right? You just need to pretty much like type down. So it's basically a computerized open book exam where you need, can actually refer to your notes, your study guide and stuff like that, but without, if I'm not wrong, it's without Wi-Fi. So marketing 202 is basically a computerized open book exam where you just need to type your answers, right? What I recommend is that you can pretty much just type it in the Microsoft Word to answer your questions, then copy and paste it through there. Because when you are typing on the computerized quiz site or like the test site, right, you will need to scroll up and down, which is quite irritating to kind of like check your answers from there. So what I recommend is just write in Word. Just trust me on this. Yeah. And for BUS105, it's also an open book exam. Okay, open book. And what I can say is just practice your mathematical concepts. And also practice on T test, the F test, and the other tests that are going to be in that module itself. Yeah, that's what I can say for the exam portions. Otherwise, just do your best in TMAs and GBAs, which is your tutor marked assignments and your group based assignments. By the way, tutor marked assignments is your individual assignments for the module itself. Yeah. So the fourth and the last module that I've done for the first semester I was in is NCO101, which is living with community. Okay, so living with community wise goes into communities, just diversity in general, whether it be less privileged communities, communities of races, LGBT community, community of XXX, blah 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 blah, black sheep, any wool community, and there are literally a lot of different meanings of community, but generally I would say it's just a party with similar interests or similarities. That's what I can say. Similarities. Yeah, pretty much. It's about that lah. Yeah, and how different communities can actually come together as a form of a bigger community or integration. So with NCO 101, right, being a core module, right out of the gate, I would generally say learning about this it's not useful. It's not useful. Okay, that is one. The prof, as much as I can say, shout out to Ho Chi team, which is one of the kindest profs that I've ever met throughout this first year. Okay, that he gives chocolates and sweets in one of his lessons. Yeah, but sadly is that for the reputation of NCO mods is that most of us don't actually go to these go for NCO classes, except for me, sadly. But just to listen through like the class content to help for my assignments. But generally that class was in the early morning, so I think the percentages were quite low in terms of basically pretty much coming for class wise. And of course, despite the prof being one of the kindest ones, I would sadly say that in terms of the content wise for the module wise, it's quite dry. Yeah, that I would say it's quite on it. But honestly, because of the prof, right? It's a C tier that is below marketing 202 for me lah. Yeah. Honestly, there is not much to prepare for this module that I can say, but I would just say just read the study guide, and I would think that you can do well for your TMAs and GBAs. However, there's this one last thing that I would say is that not all information from the slides and like your study guide itself, right, might help with your TMA or GPA, as it might not be related to what you might want to say in your TMA or GPA. But more likely than not, you're supposed to say at least one applicable concept that is from the study guide itself. If you go by that, right, then you should be safe from your assignments wise, instead of like going out of point. That's what I can say for NCO101. Also, last thing before I get into the second semester wise, for NCO modules, one last thing I'd like y'all to know also is that please, as much as possible, if you want to get good marks for NCO modules, first I will just say go to those newspaper articles or reports, or even book reports on and whatnot by the databases in the school's library. Just go and cite a lot of relevant references to your reports, and I would say you can get quite a bit of marks from those citations, provided that it's relevant to your report and project. Okay, so far BUS105 and Marketing 202 are A tiers for me, and BUS100 and NCO101 is C tier for me. Not that good, that's what I can say. Overall, this semester wise, I did quite well for BUS105. NCO101 actually also, I have no idea why. Marketing 202, honestly, it's still okay. My group project kind of carried. I didn't do quite well for BUS100, that's what I can say. Yeah. So basically that rounds up for semester 1. So the next module that I'm going to review is the second semester's one, which is ANL 201. So this is data visualization for business, which actually talks about the creation of charts such as your line charts, bar charts, your even time graphs, your pie charts, and yada yada yada, even more visualizations that can actually be produced from Excel, right? How are you going to basically create those visualizations in the Tableau software, or for even more applicable software like ClickSense, Power BI, and even more visualization softwares out there that you can use? And because for what I said about those softwares, right? Yes, I'll generally say it's quite useful. And personally, I would say it's a fun module in terms of business analytics wise side, like get insights out of it, in terms of like, hey, from the sales wise out of the previous 5 years, is the business doing good? And pretty much from stuff like that, you can basically see the sales being going up, saying, oh, the business is actually doing good, or going down, say, school COVID, the business is actually not doing good because of school COVID. Yeah, pretty much it's one easy stuff that can be said about this module lah. It's fun in its own way. But for the prof that I had for this module, right, two things I can say first. Personally, I studied the Polytechnic diploma of Business Intelligence and Analytics back in Temasek Poly. So that is one thing I can say, that I've learned the stuff in ANL 201 before. Okay. Secondly, about the prof that was teaching this module, right? Let's just say that the prof did not help a lot for this module in terms of really helping out the class, in terms of like, hey, whenever the prof is basically like talking about the materials, the prof would just read out word by word from the slide. Yeah, it's quite bad. Okay, yeah. So for one, as much as I can say the module is fun for me, right, the score is slightly lowered on that portion, inclusive of the prof side of things, which slightly didn't make it for me, I'll be honest. And by didn't make it for me, right, also for in terms of like the other students wise that were in my class as well, they decided that, hey, it was kind of a waste of time, and they don't join the class as well. So for me, it's a B tier. It could have easily been an S tier or A tier, but B tier because of how boring the props class was lah. But hiding aside the fact that I was in a previous previous school of like related diploma lah, but honestly I wanted to recap more because of the 2 years NS thing. I would say this module was a really good opportunity into looking back into what I have done for my diploma days. Good catch up for module for me. Generally, what I can say to prepare for is probably you can go to those Coursera or other sites that also shows how do you use Tableau to create visualizations for your businesses, or like just basically from Excel sheets. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Then you can see how it runs from there. Yeah. So yeah, pretty much that's it for ANL 201. Next is ANL 303, which is fundamentals of data mining. So as I said about ANL 201 being, I've learned quite a bit from this module before getting into this module in university and stuff like that, right? So same for ANL 303, fundamentals of data mining. As much as they say fundamentals, it's the basic of basic of basic of basic of basic of the whole degree itself. Generally, why I would say this is because you literally have 3 modules for your upcoming semesters, right? Require ANL 303 as your prerequisite to enter the 3 other major modules soon in the future semesters. So I would say ANL 303 is quite important. And for this module wise, it goes into concepts such as association, what types of items are frequently bought within the customers. Customer segmentation is next, which is clustering. So it's like finding the similarities of groups of customers that buy this sort of thing, or similarities in like, hey, they are aged 50 and above, or another group can be aged 20 and below, etc., etc. And the last thing is the decision tree, slightly similar to the clustering part where I said about the different groups, but it's branched in slightly a different way. Is classification. So for ANL trilogies wise, right, definitely 10 out of 10 in terms of it being a useful module for your future semesters. How fun it is, and the prof itself, right, is one of the best profs that I've had. Not only is the prof engaging and made the module fun, good recapitulation and stuff like that, which was quite good, not gonna lie. Shout out to Prof. Kaman being the best prof that I had all these modules. Yeah, like including all these modules for semester 2. Yeah, pretty much it was quite top notch lah in terms of the teaching wise, which was also praised by my seniors and my batchmates as well. Quite a good prof, to be honest. Also ANL 303, last thing before I will talk about the here, there will be this SPSS IBM modeler that you have to use, which is essential for your future analytics modules as well. So generally I'll say please take note of this module as something that you would drive into learning more about the concepts of analytics, which is what you joined this course for. And just practice, I would say, the concepts of analytics, as this part of things can be a bit of maths in terms of just like simple fractions, about like checking like the percentages of something to something, such as the classification tree. What is the accuracy rate of people buying oranges to apples, for example lah. So ANL 303 without a doubt, S tier for me. Easily S tier for me. That's all I can say. High S tier, easy. Okay, so before I forget, right? ANL 303, similar. I would say it's similar in terms of BUS105 things. Is that certain outputs would be in the exam paper. So ANL 303 has these outputs from IBM SPSS modeler into your exam papers. So do take note is that you probably need to practice from the IBM SPSS modeler. What are the outputs say? What does the outputs say? What does these numbers and values mean to the analysis? Okay, whether it be association rules, classification, blah blah blah. As you know, one thing I would say for ANL 303 is that it's a closed book exam. Okay, it's a closed book exam, and you do not have like any computers to refer to. You don't have IBM SPSS modeler to refer to. So you just need to remember by your muscle memory on basically what these numbers would represent. And lastly, before I go to the next module, it's pretty much essay driven. It's a written exam. It's essay driven as well, with at least one of the essay questions, which I'll just basically show on the video there on how fast that I wrote basically. okay, it's not really pretty much how fast I wrote, but it's more of like time is at stake. You only have 2 hours, and literally this question took around 30 minutes max to do this question. Yeah, pretty much. So depending on the essay question that you would have to face in the near future, if the syllabus doesn't change, then all the best to you all. That's what I can say. But it's really the most fundamental modules out there for analytics side of things. Yeah. Alright, next is Fin 203, which is Essentials of Financial Management, where you go through the different types of finances, whether it be corporate finance, governmental finance, etc. And also pretty much goes through on annuities, your perpetuities, your also financial planning, and also more towards on your portfolio management in terms of your diversification and estate planning. If I remember correctly, net change in working capital was one of them as well. Yeah, that's quite a number of concepts in the module itself. And what I can say about Fin 203, right? As someone, right, that has read a slight bit, not a lot, of financial literacy, okay, before going into this module, right? What I can say from the information that I've learned from before getting into this module versus the module that I've learned it in uni, right? For this module, yeah, it's the worst module. I can flat out say. Where do I even begin for this? Okay, first, okay, let's just talk about the formatting of the study guide, which I did say in my criteria lah, the formatting wise. Pretty much I can say for the other formatting, like in terms of the study guide or assignments or stuff like that, right? I would generally say it's either like to the standard of either meh or to the point of good that I can say. Fin, if the other module standards were this much, okay, Fin 203 would be below the meh standard. It's in a mess that you do not know which is which portion, and to the point where there was one concept that was taught in two separate chapters, for example, like chapter 2 and chapter 4, right? That kind of thing. That they are taught similarly but different, which messed up our minds quite a bit. And not only that, for study guide wise, right, usually I would refer to the lecturer's notes as well to help complement with the study guide itself in terms of my guidance in learning. But when I looked over at it, there are just basically some things that were missing from the notes from the study guide itself. And basically there was another like lecturer's notes that were posted online, okay, on the same site lah basically. So with these two lecturers' notes, right, okay, were literally the two profs teaching for our full-time cohort. And let me tell you, it was a mess to number one. I can generally say 90% of the people do not understand this module. Even after the last lesson was already conducted, which made people quite concerned for the exam. Secondly, is that because like their notes, right, is jumbled up in the case where they are literally showing like different things, right? It made me show to the fact that I had to refer to my friend's notes, study guide, and the two freaking notes. I had multiple points of references to basically come up with the final product, which was my mind map. It's still a mess, which shows the module itself is a mess as well. Yeah, pretty much. It's I don't know, it's just quite the abundance of information that could have been formatted properly for this module. So I would recommend for students to basically just pick up this module, and then like when you have the study guide itself, right, just read up ASAP. That's what I can say for this module. And also one thing about this module's prof that I had, terrible experience. Terrible experience for two things, okay. First thing is, before I go into classes, right, I generally always read the lecture notes first and like the study guide before getting into class. And basically when I got out of that class, I basically got more confused than I was when I read the lecture notes and study guide, which shows how bad the prof's explanation was. Yeah, and secondly is that for his lessons wise, there was always this recap that he had in the first hour of the lesson from the last lesson wise. And I mean I get it. I get that he wants to recap on stuff that people might want to remember over time and stuff like that for the upcoming exam and stuff. But heck, no one even understood the previous lesson's topic. And sure, go for the recap, sure. But then what about the very last lesson? So for total there are like 6 lessons. Okay. If you want to recap for the last lessons one, where's the final one, you get what I mean. By the 6th lesson you will recap the 5th lesson's content, and the 6th lesson one there's no sort of recap, so like how do people even remember? And lastly is that the teacher just talks gibberish in terms of irrelevant stuff like, oh, I have my 3 sons and my daughter, and then achieve in their career into different points of things that are not related to finance. That slightly made me pissed, not gonna lie, into wasting time in his lessons, which is why Fin 203 is in the D tier. Like this module is just a mess that it's deserving a D tier. But not gonna lie, I did not expect the result that I got for this module lah. That's what I can say for this module. Oh yeah, lastly, also right, apparently for the previous cohorts, did accounting first, like for reference it's accounting 202, ACC 202, then it is actually going to be followed by Fin 203, which is to understand Fin 203 better as a module. But I do not know why that this current curriculum plan is showing finance first and accounting first, which the lecturer was questioning us as well on why the curriculum plan was like this. So I don't know. But oh well, SUSS, change your curriculum please. People don't want to kill themselves in Fin 203. Let them learn ACC 202 please. What I can say is just do our best. Let's just do our best. That's what I can say. Yep. The next module that I've done in semester 2 is BUS107, which is, as you can see, is color coded by major elective modules, which basically is a segment in your major that need to require to complete a certain number of electives within the major, within these this list of modules to do, which is at least 2 to 3 electives from selected list itself. Yeah, which you need to choose. And this is quantitative methods, which actually shows into different concepts actually learned from past 100, but actually better in terms of, hey, you have Monte Carlo simulation, you have shortest path algorithms and actually more algorithms towards distances. You also actually learned about linear programming, and basically pretty much this module itself is basically about predictive analysis. That's what I can say about this module wise, cause also yes, forecasting lah. And this module, right, shout out to Prof Caleb, it's an S, but S minus. So why S minus? Just give a background, he's basically pretty much a freelance lecturer, basically through, if I'm not wrong, NUS and also SUSS in teaching students there lah. And actually he's quite interactive with his students in terms of like having jokes, like even mom dad jokes, that kind of thing, or like just using like analogies, like even jokes can be analogies to make one remember about the concepts well, which I commend him for that. Yes, pretty much a kind prof lah. That's what I can say for his side of things. My impression of BUS107 is that it's It's literally BUS100. You also learn it in BUS107, but BUS107 was taught way better, and school BUS100 is a module, man. BUS100 is just not worth it for me. Yeah. Another thing about BUS107, why it's not SS but just like I said S minus, right? It's slightly on the first literally the first topic that was taught, right, was literally the hardest out of the exam papers wise. So it's actually linear programming, which literally did out of 6 lessons, which is done 2 lessons out of it, which actually is the hardest in the exams portion of things. If you look into your tutorial or lecture notes for this module itself, and you refer it to your exam papers, the questions from there, right, they are simply 2 different levels. Where maybe if I practice on the lecture notes questions there, that is a level 3 to 5 monster that you're battling, okay? Then perhaps when you move over to the exam papers itself, right? Oh shit, that's like level 99 bullshit there, right there. But yeah, that's what makes the module fun and also like quite interactive to learn how to apply those kinds of concepts from your lecture notes to the exam papers itself, which I quite find it quite fun as a mathematics person like I keep saying that. Yeah, so pretty much I like this module. Pretty much it's also like quite relevant to um analytics. Like I mean descriptive analytics was learned already by BUS105, so BUS107 now I guess it's just a level up, level up from BUS100 lah. So yeah, I guess I would say it's a beneficial module for me. Yeah, for analytics students itself. So I would just recommend to take it as a major elective module. However, I would say about one thing is that like I said about earlier, linear programming, if you are willing to sacrifice a bit of marks on that and like just like know the rest of the material, then I would just say sure, I would just say go for the module. If the BUS100 stuff is quite weak, I might not recommend to go for BUS107 lah. Okay, so the next module that I've done is NCO203, which is critical thinking and problem solving, which goes into different argumentative techniques that you can use. I would say generally such as confirmation bias to basically pretty much like take down one point and whatnot lah. Also another thing is that critical thinking comes from the word perhaps brainstorming of ideas, just literally whack any of the ideas and then just come up with a certain topic to come up with the report, which is basically a group-based report lah, which is quite a huge substantial amount of the percentage being used for this module lah. And generally I would say is that for this module, as much as it's an NCO, it's one of the better NCOs out there, I would admit. Okay, this NCO 203 right here, okay, personally I would say it's a B tier, not better than ANL 201. Okay, so why is it a B tier? It's also because of how the prof was teaching this module, which kind of I would say more likely not kind of intrigues us into thinking about certain things, like the certain terms that the prof uses. And in terms of comparison to the other NCO mods, is one of the most engaging ones out there that can be proven useful for certain essays. But what I can say about this module is strict marking. A lot of students actually suffer for this module. About its usefulness and fun. Okay, fun is there because of the prof as well, but usefulness, generally useful to a certain extent to agree or to disagree to a certain point. I feel that is slightly useful into analytics, slightly a bit, but otherwise it's a bit here lah. Not much to talk about the module other than the strict marking. So the next module that I had is NCO211, Data Interpretation and Social Analytics. So data interpretation, right, I would think it's just like talking about numerical figures and stuff like that, right? In terms of comparison, like let's just say 46% of the people prefer to eat oranges and 36% prefer to eat apples, and I don't know, the remaining percentage eat other stuff like as fruits types of things. Yeah, if you're thinking into that kind of module for this NCO211, then you've gone into the wrong module. I pretty much just got scammed out of it. It's okay, as simple as this, right? What I can say is that it's basically on two things, okay? This one, right, first one is literally on data literacy, about how you perceive the data, and slightly on information sources, which secondary school social studies, O levels. But anyways, it's related to that. I'll generally say about how reliable the sources are in terms of how reliable the sources are in terms of about where its source is taken from. For example, you take it from a book, you take it from a journal report. Are they reliable or not? Or you take it from Wikipedia, which definitely is unreliable. Yeah, like the kind of thing lah. So, I mean, if you're not into data literacy, I wouldn't recommend this module. And last thing, which is only two things technically, ETB, experiential team building. There's literally a component in your report asking about how does your team come together to create the report and blah 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 blah, create the video, which you'll need to create a video or a podcast. And I kind of forgot to say, similar to NCO101 and like certain other NCO modules, that you are expected to create a video or basically a montage or podcast, which in this case 211 is a podcast, or video, for you to address to a certain targeted audience. So NCO 211 for me, I will honestly say, because of how scammed I was, the content was dry, but not like dry. It's mid dry. Yeah, Asahi mid dry. Is there any? But anyway, it's kind of mid and meh for me. The rest of the criteria honestly is quite meh. So generally, since it's mid dry and not more dry than NCO 101, it's still in C tier, just better than NCO 101. Fin 203 can just suffer and die in a hellhole because it's bad. Yeah, but NCO 211, for what it is, it still talks a bit about data, so I give it to the props of that, but not what I was thinking for the module to be more of social studies and ETB. So if you're not into that, then I would suggest going for NCO 212, which is the Smart Cities module, which is the choice of you can either choose for this 211 module or 212. However, what I can say is I've not heard of anyone that has done 212 for my knowledge wise, so I cannot help much on stating the points about NCO 212 itself. Yeah. And lastly, we have this special semester that can be opted in or out. If it's opted out, then you have 15 weeks of break. If not, then you will still at least have the similar amount of weeks for your normal semester break. The last module that I've done for this year is NCO111. So it's basically work and learning in a changing world, which what I can describe it in 3 words for this module: motivation, creativity, and adaptability. It's a very historical based module. A lot of historical figures come out of nowhere in the slides, blah blah blah, and in the study guide as well. But generally I would say it's kind of a soft skill kind of thing, where you kind of need to ingrain in yourself that you probably need to adapt in the coming years into your job or into whatever you do and stuff like that. And just basically motivation and just adapt on the spot, that kind of thing. Yeah. Thus, it's not really a that much of a useful module. For what I can say. For your group project size, you are expected to create an infographic, which is I would honestly say but I would generally say the lessons are quite dry, because personally I'm not a fan of history, and thus it's worse than 101. God, it was awful with the historical figures enough that I care more about communities compared to history. Like way history in like 1800s, like that I don't even care about. So yeah, NCO111, I feel like it deserves like its spot lah. So there we have it. Pretty much here's the SUSS modules tier list that I have that I've done in year 1 lah. So here's pretty much it lah. And also lastly, before I kind of end the video here, which is one of the modules that was exempted for me in terms of the NCOs wise, which is either if you get a high RP, which is I think grades of A's in your H2 and poly of 3.5 CGPA in poly, you get to exempt 2 modules, which is NCO103 and NCO201. But I'll talk about NCO103 only, as I know most of my classmates have done it in the first semester. Basically, NCO103 is listen and be heard, effective something through storytelling. You can read the description there. But generally, what my friends have said is that it's actually better than most of the NCOs here. It's literally the best NCO that they have done, which is saying something. Wow, I skipped one of the best modules ever. How could I? But basically it's pretty much like just showing literary devices, such as like using analogies or different types of storytelling techniques, which I'll technically say will be useful in terms of evoking feelings for the audience watching the story or listening to the story. I feel like it could be useful and fun for most of them, since from what they say, their group project is quite I'll say free to use whatever they want, except that of course it has to be relevant like to the current society. That's what they have said to me lah. And yeah, I'm not gonna say much about that module. Probably gonna be around A to B tier, but that's about it lah. Yeah. So if you did notice, right, about one thing before I literally end this video, if you look at the synopsis of the modules wise, right, the longer the synopsis of the module, somehow, some way or another, like 211, Fin 203, you know the module is gonna be bad. Like bad for me, at least. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just quite a bit of things to grasp for the module, or maybe it just shows how dry the module is. I don't know if that's supposed to be a direct correlation, but okay. Okay, sure. Yep. Just a last run through for the module tier. So for D tier, you literally have Fin 203, the trash of all trashy fish in the trash bin. Yeah. So then you have your C tier, which is the most somehow, with BUS100, with better than 211, better than 101 and 111, which is quite meh, to be honest. And then you have your B tier, which is ANL201 and NCO203, A tier with statistics and marketing 202, and lastly, the best of best S tier with ANM303 and BUS107. Right, that's it for my module tier lah. So basically, let me know in the comments also if for the future semesters that I'll be taking, do you want me to take by semester based, like review my modules by semester based, or by year based would be better? Maybe y'all can let me know lah. Yeah. So taking note for next semester, there'll be not slightly, but just one more color code minor module. So I'll be taking one of the minor modules next semester. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much about it for this module tier lah. Yeah. So I guess that's pretty much about it. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And see you all in the next video. Bye bye. All goods. Have a good day.